Hello there. Imagine a quiet evening in the 1800s. Gas lamps glow softly along the streets, and elegant carriages roll slowly across the cobblestones. Inside the grand houses of Victorian society, something special is about to begin. But have you ever wondered, what did a Victorian evening truly feel like? What happened behind the doors of those glittering ballrooms, when ladies carefully laced their corsets, and gentlemen prepared for a night of music and dancing? And later in the evening, something rather unusual sometimes happened. At certain Victorian balls, guests would suddenly appear wearing elaborate masks, turning the elegant ballroom into a mysterious masquerade. For a few magical hours, identities were hidden, and the night became filled with quiet intrigue. So tonight, let us step gently back in time. Dim the lights, relax, and discover what evenings were really like in the Victorian world as society prepared for a grand ball.
Sleeping right now.
Before we step further into the candlelight, and before the carriage takes us to the grand doors. If you feel the comfort of these old stories, and if you wish to join us on more journeys through the quiet corridors of history, then please, softly, press the subscribe button. It is like signing your name in a guest book. And if you feel the peace of this evening, leaving a like is like leaving a candle lit for us. Thank you for being here. Now, let us return to the soft glow of the Victorian night. The sun hangs low in the late afternoon sky, a heavy, golden disk, sinking slowly toward the horizon. Through the tall, arched windows of the manor, the light spills across the floor in long, amber stripes. It is that peculiar, silent hour, when the day hasn't quite ended, but the evening has already begun to whisper. Inside the drawing room, the air is still. A thin layer of dust, invisible in the shadows, dances in a single beam of light, spinning in slow, lazy circles, before vanishing into the velvet curtains. Outside, the garden is quiet. The birds have finished their songs, and the wind, if there is any at all, only breathes softly through the ivy-covered stone walls. You can hear the house settling into its foundation, a faint, wooden creak from the grand staircase, the rhythmic, metallic pulse of a clock on the mantel. Tick, tick, tick. It is a steady, comforting sound that has measured the lives of everyone who has ever walked these halls. On the mahogany table, a stray silk ribbon rests where it was left, reflecting a dull, pearly glow. The fireplace, though unlit, still smells faintly of last night's cedarwood and old, cooling ash. In this moment, there is no rush. The grand ball still feels like a dream that belongs to the future. For now, there is only the warmth of the fading sun on the back of a chair, and the way the shadows gradually stretch to touch the corners of the room. The heavy wool tapestries on the walls seem to absorb all sound, making the silence feel thick and protective, like a soft, invisible blanket wrapped around the entire household. Everything is in its place, the silver tea set waiting on its tray, the leather-bound books resting on the shelves. It is a pause, a deep, collective breath, before the first candle is struck. The world outside, with its noise and its busy streets, feels miles away. Here, in the heart of the manor, time has slowed down, allowing you to simply be, to listen to the heartbeat of the house, and to feel the calm of a Victorian afternoon fading into the dusk. Moving away from the quiet drawing room, we follow the soft, rhythmic sounds coming from the upper floors. Here, in the dressing quarters, the air is different. It carries the faint, clean scent of lavender water, and the warmth of a charcoal iron. The servants move with a practiced, silent grace, their footsteps nearly invisible on the thick, runner rugs. They are the silent architects of the evening's elegance. A maid, her hands steady and careful, lifts a heavy, silk gown from its cedar-lined chest. Listen to the sound of the fabric, a soft, liquid rustle, like the sound of a distant, gentle stream. Every fold, every pleat, is treated with a kind of quiet reverence. On a nearby table, a wooden board is ready. The heavy iron, heated by the hearth, moves slowly across a lace collar. SSSSHHH. A tiny, white cloud of steam rises, then vanishes into the dim light. The warmth from the iron fills the small corner of the room, a cozy, comforting heat that makes the air feel thick and drowsy. The maid's movements are repetitive, back and forth, a hypnotic, calming motion that belongs to another century. Across the room, a valet is preparing the gentleman's evening attire. The black wool coat, brushed until it shines, hangs waiting on a mahogany stand. He handles the crisp, white linen shirt with fingers that know exactly how much starch is needed to make it perfect. The sound of a brush rhythmically stroking the fabric shh, 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 adds to the steady heartbeat of the house. It is a dance of preparation, performed in near silence, punctuated only by the occasional metallic click of a jewelry box being opened. Inside that box, the cufflinks and the pearl studs rest on a bed of dark, sapphire velvet. They catch the fading light from the window, sparkling with a cold, quiet fire. A pair of white, kid leather gloves is laid out side by side. Their surface is smooth and supple, smelling faintly of fine powder. There is a deep, focused calm in these preparations. No words are spoken, for the servants know their roles by heart. They are preparing the stage for a night that will soon be filled with music, but for now, there is only the warmth of the steam, the scent of lavender, and the steady, comforting work of hands that have done this 1,000 times before. The clothes wait, draped in shadows, ready to transform the inhabitants of the house into the stars of the grand ball. The afternoon light has softened now into a deep, dusty rose. It filters through the tall, mahogany wardrobe, which stands like a silent sentinel in the corner of the dressing room. Inside its dark, cedar-scented depths lies a world of silk, lace, and secrets. The door opens with a slow, heavy creak, a sound that has echoed through this room for generations. Imagine the soft, cool touch of 1,000 threads as a hand brushes against the hanging garments. The sound is like a gentle waterfall of fabric. Shh, shh, shh. Each gown tells a story of a night, a dance, a memory. There is the pale, primrose yellow, which reminds one of a summer garden at dawn. There is the deep, forest green in heavy velvet that feels like a mossy forest floor. But today, the choice is different. It is a night for something extraordinary. A gown of midnight blue is lifted carefully from its padded hanger. It is made of the finest, heaviest silk that catches the light and turns it into a shimmering, liquid pool. Hold it in your mind, the weight of it, the cool, slippery surface, sliding through your fingers like water. The lace trimmings around the neckline are as delicate as a frost-covered window, and as you look closer, you see the tiny, hand-stitched seed pearls. They glow with a soft, milky light, reflecting the candle that has just been lit on the vanity. Every stitch represents a quiet, focused hour of a seamstress's life, a labor of love and patience. Choosing the gown is not a hurried task. It is a slow, thoughtful process. The fabric is held up against the fading light to see how the shadows play across its folds. It isn't just a dress, it is a transformation. It is the armor of a Victorian lady chosen to reflect her grace, her status, and her heart. The ribbons are laid out next, long, satin streamers in a shade of silver. They are smooth and slightly cool to the touch. Imagine the sound as they are unrolled, a tiny, crisp, snapping sound. The air in the room is now thick with the scent of dried rose petals and old, expensive silk. As the gown is finally laid across the bed, it looks almost alive, its skirts spreading out like a great blue flower blooming in the twilight. There is a deep, satisfying silence in the room. The choice has been made. The gown is ready, and the night is waiting to see it dance. It sits there in the quiet, a promise of the elegance that is soon to come. The room is now filled with the soft, flickering glow of a dozen beeswax candles. The ritual of dressing is beginning. It is a slow, meditative process, a transition from the private self to the public elegance of the ballroom. There is no haste here, only the rhythmic, repetitive motions that have been performed for centuries. First comes the chemise, a cloud of thin, white linen sliding over the skin. It is light and breathable, smelling faintly of lavender. Imagine the feeling of the fabric settling softly against your body. Then the stockings are pulled up, slowly, fine, silk mesh that feels like a second skin. They are tied above the knee with a simple, satin ribbon, a small, quiet knot tucked away. Next is the corset, the centerpiece of the Victorian silhouette. It is not a thing to be rushed. Listen to the sound of the laces as they are pulled through the silver eyelets, zip, 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 a soft, rhythmic friction. The maid's hands are steady. She pulls the cords with a gentle, firm pressure. Feel the support wrapping around your ribs like a steady, firm embrace. It forces the breath to become shallow and calm, focusing the mind on the present moment. One by one, the petticoats are added layer after layer of stiff, starched cotton. With each addition, the skirt grows fuller and heavier. The sound of the fabric moving is a deep, hollow rustle, frou-frou, frou-frou, like the sound of dry leaves being stirred by a gentle wind. It is a comforting weight, a structure that anchors you to the floor. Then, the gown itself is lifted. It feels heavy and cool in the maid's arms. You step into the center of the silk sea, and as it is pulled up, the fabric whispers against the petticoats. The many small, silk-covered buttons along the back are fastened one by one, click, click, click. The maid's fingers move with a quiet, rhythmic precision, each button a tiny, secure anchor. As the final hook is closed at the neck, there is a sense of completion. The body is now encased in a work of art. The transformation is nearly total. The weight of the silk, the tightness of the corset, the rustle of the skirts, they all create a new, elegant reality. You stand still for a moment, listening to your own quiet breathing, feeling the pulse of the evening beginning to beat in your veins. The ritual is almost over, but the magic is just starting to breathe. The sun has finally dipped below the horizon, leaving behind a sky of deep, velvety indigo. A hush has fallen over the manor, but it is a vibrant, electric kind of silence, a silence that is thick with anticipation. Every room, from the cold, stone kitchens in the basement to the warm, wood-paneled bedrooms, feels alive with a quiet, humming energy, as if the house itself is taking one last, deep breath before the evening's festivities begin. Downstairs, in the entrance hall, the butler moves with a slow, measured pace. He carries a long, brass taper, lighting the candles, one by one. Listen to the sound of the strike, the tiny, crisp scratch of a match, followed by the soft whoosh as the flame catches. The light grows, bit by bit, reflecting off the polished mahogany banisters and the cold, white marble of the statues. The shadows retreat into the corners, fleeing from the warm, amber glow that now fills the air. In the servants' quarters, there is a final, frantic, but hushed activity. Whispers fly through the hallways like soft, fluttering moths. Is the carriage ready? Are the flowers in place? You can hear the distant, muffled sound of a silver tray being polished, rub, 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 and the faint, metallic clink of crystal glasses being arranged on a sideboard. Each sound is isolated, distinct, in the otherwise quiet house, adding to the sense that something grand, something monumental, is about to unfold. Upstairs, behind closed doors, the guests are in the final, quiet moments of their preparation. There is the scent of expensive, floral perfume drifting through the cracks in the doors, a mixture of rose, jasmine, and the sharp, clean smell of sandalwood. It hangs heavy in the hallway like a fragrant, invisible mist. Imagine the sound of a lady's fan being snapped shut, clack, a sharp, final sound that signals readiness. The anticipation is not just in the people, but in the objects themselves. The grand, crystal chandelier in the ballroom hangs perfectly still, its thousands of glass prisms waiting to catch the light of 100 candles and turn it into a rain of diamonds. The floor, waxed to a mirror-like, slippery finish, waits for the first silk-shod foot to glide across its surface. The instruments in the musicians' gallery sit in their velvet-lined cases, their wooden bodies, cool and silent, waiting for the touch of a bow to bring them to life. You can feel the tension pulling like a thin, silver wire through the entire household. It is a sweet, pleasant weight in the chest. The hearts of the young ladies beat a little faster behind their silk corsets, wondering who will ask for the first waltz, wondering what secrets the night will reveal. Even the air feels thicker, more charged, as if it is waiting for the first notes of the orchestra to ripple through it. Outside, the first carriage can be heard in the far distance, a faint, rhythmic clip-clop of horse hooves on the damp, cobblestone road. The sound grows, slowly echoing through the crisp night air. The wait is almost over. The household, now fully lit and shimmering like a jewel in the darkness, is ready. The anticipation has reached its peak, and the night is finally ready to begin. Imagine the soft touch of the chemise as it is first lifted. It is made of the finest, lightest, white cotton lawn, so thin it feels almost like a breath against the skin. It is the most intimate layer, designed to protect the body and the expensive garments that will soon follow. Feel the fabric as it slides over your shoulders, a cool, soothing sensation. The edges are trimmed with tiny, handmade lace that tickles the skin ever so slightly. This is the base, the quiet, simple beginning of a complex and elegant architecture. Then comes the most iconic and transformative piece of the entire wardrobe, the corset. It rests on the vanity, a structure of silk, coutil, and firm, flexible whalebone. It looks almost like a piece of sculpture waiting to be worn. As it is lifted, you can hear the faint, metallic clink of the steel busk, the front closure that will hold everything in place. The corset is wrapped slowly around the waist, and the process of lacing begins. This is a slow, deliberate ritual that requires patience and a steady hand. Listen to the sound of the long, silk laces being threaded through the metal eyelets. Shh, zip. Shh, a repetitive, hypnotic sound that marks the passage of time. The maid, standing behind, takes the two long cords and begins to pull, not with force, but with a gentle, firm, and rhythmic pressure. With each pull, the world feels a little more focused. The corset tightens, wrapping around the ribs like a protective, firm embrace. It is not about pain, it is about support. It changes the way you breathe, forcing the air to move higher into the chest, making each breath shallow, quiet, and delicate. Inhale and exhale, the corset moves with you, a steady, constant presence that dictates your posture and your grace. The laces are pulled tighter, bit by bit, creating that classic hourglass shape that defines the era. The maid's fingers move in a rhythmic dance, crossing the laces, pulling, and securing. You can hear the fabric of the corset groaning slightly under the tension, a soft, creaking sound like an old wooden ship on a calm sea. Creak, pull, creak. Finally, the laces are tied in a neat, secure bow at the small of the back. The ends of the ribbons hang down, invisible, beneath the layers that are yet to come. Now, the body feels different, more structured, more formal. You stand taller, your shoulders naturally falling back, your chin tilting slightly upward. The corset has done its work, it has prepared the canvas for the masterpiece of the ball gown. You look in the mirror, and though you are still only in your undergarments, the silhouette of the evening is already there, ghostly and elegant, in the dim, candlelit room. There is a profound sense of stillness after the lacing is done, a moment of adjustment as the body settles into its new, firm shape. The world outside, the horses, the carriages, the music, they all feel closer now, but here, in the quiet of the first layer, there is only the sound of your own soft, rhythmic breathing and the feeling of being perfectly and elegantly prepared. The foundation is set, but the true architecture of the evening is about to be built layer by layer. To create the grand, sweeping silhouette of a Victorian ball gown, one must understand the hidden structure that breathes life into the silk. Imagine standing in the center of the room as the next phase of this transformation begins. First comes the crinoline, or perhaps the heavy, hooped petticoat. It is a cage of steel or stiffened horsehair designed to hold the weight of the skirts away from the legs. Listen to the sound as it is expanded, a metallic, springy boing-clink, followed by the rustle of the fabric covering. It is lowered over your head, settling around your waist like a wide, protective bell. Suddenly, you occupy more space, the world around you feels smaller as your physical presence expands. But the cage alone is not enough. To soften the lines and add the necessary luxurious volume, layer upon layer of starched petticoats are added. Imagine the maid lifting each one carefully. The first is plain cotton, the next is trimmed with rows of stiff ruffles. Shh, shh, shh. The sound of the starched fabric rubbing against itself is deep and rhythmic, like the sound of dry leaves blowing across a stone courtyard. Each layer adds weight and a sense of immense, quiet power. Now, the room is filled with the scent of starch and the warmth of the candles reflecting off the white, billowing fabric. You are standing in a sea of petticoats, a soft, white cloud that muffles every step you take. When you move, the entire structure sways with a slow, graceful, pendulum-like motion. It is a heavy but comforting weight, an anchor that keeps you grounded while you prepare to dance. Finally, it is time for the gown itself, the midnight blue silk we chose earlier. It takes two people to lift it carefully so as not to crush the delicate, hand-pressed pleats. It is lowered over the petticoats, and for a moment you are lost in a world of cool, slippery silk. The fabric slides down over the structure like water, flowing over a waterfall. Frou-frou, frou-frou. The sound is richer now, deeper, and more melodic. The skirt of the gown is immense, yards and yards of expensive, shimmering material cascading down to the floor. The maid begins the task of arranging the folds. She kneels, her hands moving with a quiet, rhythmic precision, smoothing out the silk, tucking a ribbon here, adjusting a lace flounce there, rustle, pat, rustle. You can feel the weight of the train pulling slightly. Behind you, a reminder of the elegance that now follows in your wake. The bodice is then carefully fastened to the skirt, tiny hooks and eyes hidden beneath the decorative bows. Click, click, click. The fit is perfect, the silk stretched tight over the corset, reflecting the light like the surface of a dark, midnight lake. As you turn, slowly, the entire structure moves as one, a marvel of engineering and art. You are no longer just a person, you have become a vision of the Victorian era, a masterpiece of velvet, silk, and steel. There is a deep, satisfying heaviness to the gown. It demands a certain way of walking, a certain way of being. You feel protected yet exposed, private yet magnificent. In the silence of the dressing room, the gown seems to hum with its own quiet life, waiting for the first notes of the waltz to set it in motion. The structure is complete, and the transformation is almost total. The gown is in place, the silhouette is perfect, and now we turn our attention to the final, shimmering details. The accessories of a Victorian lady are not merely decorations, they are the symbols of her status and the tools of her social grace. On the marble-topped vanity, the jewelry box sits open, its velvet lining glowing softly under the light of the tall, flickering candles. First, we reach for the gloves. They are made of the finest, white kid leather, soft as a whisper, and incredibly supple. Imagine the sensation as you slide your hand into the cool, narrow opening. The leather is so thin, it feels like a second skin, molding perfectly to every contour of your fingers. One by one, the tiny pearl buttons at the wrist are fastened, pop, 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 a small, satisfying sound that signals the completion of the hands. Your fingers feel long, elegant, and protected, ready to be offered to a dance partner or to hold a glass of champagne. Next comes the jewelry, a collection of treasures that catch the light and turn it into a dance of fire. The necklace is lifted from its sapphire blue bed. It is a string of heavy, cream-colored pearls interspersed with delicate, silver filigree. Feel the weight of it as it is draped around your neck. The pearls are cold at first, a sharp, icy contrast to the warmth of your skin, but slowly they begin to absorb your body heat, becoming a part of you. Then, the earrings, small, teardrop diamonds that hang and sway with every movement of your head. Listen to the faint, musical clink they make as they brush against the lace of your collar. Tinkle, tinkle, a sound so soft it can only be heard in the absolute quiet of this room. Finally, the bracelet is snapped around your gloved wrist, a heavy, gold band that feels secure and grounding. You are now, literally, draped in light. But perhaps the most important accessory is the fan. It lies on the table, its guards made of carved, white ivory, inlaid with shimmering, mother-of-pearl. Pick it up and feel its balance in your hand. It is light, yet substantial. With a flick of the wrist, the fan snaps open, thwop, a sudden, crisp sound, followed by the gentle, rhythmic pulse of air against your face. The fan is a lady's secret language, a way to hide a smile, a way to signal interest, or a way to find a moment of cool relief in a crowded, candlelit room. The scent of the fan is intoxicating, a mixture of the sandalwood used in the ribs and the faint, floral perfume that has been sprayed onto the hand-painted silk leaf. Imagine the sound as you fold it, slowly, click, 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 each fold nesting perfectly against the next. There is a deep, rhythmic calm in handling these objects. The cool leather, the heavy pearls, the smooth ivory, they all add to the sensory tapestry of the evening. You are now fully adorned, a vision of grace and meticulous, quiet detail. Every piece has its place, every sparkle has its purpose. In the mirror, the candlelight dances off the diamonds and reflects in the pearls, making you look as though you are illuminated from within. The room is silent, except for the occasional, soft rustle of your silk sleeves and the distant, muffled sound of a carriage drawing closer to the house. The final touches are complete, and you are ready to step out of the shadows and into the brilliance of the ball. The gown is magnificent, the jewelry is shimmering, but now we focus on the crowning glory, the hair. In the Victorian era, a lady's hair was never merely styled, it was a work of delicate, patient art. Sit back in the velvet-lined chair before the tall, ornate mirror and feel the stillness of the room wrap around you. The only sound is the soft, rhythmic crackle of the fire and the steady, quiet breathing of the hairstylist. First, the heavy, silver-backed brush is lifted from the marble vanity. Imagine the sensation as the bristles move slowly through your hair, from the roots all the way down to the ends. Shh, shh, shh. It is a hypnotic, deeply relaxing sound, like the wind whispering through a field of dry grass. Each stroke removes the tension of the day, leaving your hair smooth, glossy, and ready for the transformation. The hair is divided with a long, thin, tortoise-shell comb. Feel the cool, sharp edge of the comb tracing a perfect line across your scalp. The stylist's hands move with a quiet, practiced grace, twisting, braiding, and pinning with a rhythm that feels like a slow, silent dance. Victorian hairstyles were complex, a mountain of soft, cascading curls and intricate, woven braids. Listen to the sound of the hairpins, small, metallic, tink, 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 as they are taken from a porcelain dish. One by one, they are tucked into the folds of your hair, securing a curl here, a braid there. You can feel the weight of the style beginning to grow, a heavy but comfortable presence at the back of your head. It changes the way you hold your neck, forcing you to sit with a regal, elegant, and steady posture. Now, the finer details are added. Small, hand-carved combs, inlaid with pearls, are slid into the sides, catching the light of the flickering candles, and then, the final, most delicate touch, a sprig of fresh, white jasmine, or perhaps a single, deep red rose. Imagine the scent as the flowers are placed near your ear, a sweet, intoxicating fragrance that will follow you into the ballroom, mixing with the scent of the hair pomade, which smells faintly of beeswax and rosewater. The stylist takes a small, silk ribbon, matching the midnight blue of your gown, and weaves it through the braids. Rustle, rustle. The sound of the silk against your hair is so soft, it is almost inaudible. A few loose curls are left to escape at the nape of your neck, soft, wispy tendrils that frame your face and soften the formal structure of the style. Take a moment to look in the mirror. You hardly recognize the reflection. The hairstyle has added height and a sense of timeless, quiet dignity. It is a masterpiece of texture and light. Every strand is in its place, every pin is hidden. Your hair looks like a sculpture of silk and shadow. There is a final misting of scented water, a cool, fine spray that settles over you like a morning fog. It locks the style in place and leaves you feeling refreshed and ready. The stylist steps back, the work is done. The room returns to its deep, peaceful silence, except for the distant, muffled chime of the hallway clock. Your preparation is nearly complete, and as you look at your reflection one last time, you feel a sense of profound, calm confidence. The night and all its mysteries are waiting, and you are perfectly and elegantly prepared to meet them. The long process of transformation is finally complete. The last pin has been tucked, the last ribbon tied, and the air in the room seems to hold its breath along with you. Step forward, slowly, across the thick, velvet carpet, until you stand directly in front of the tall, gilded floor mirror. The candlelight, flickering in the draught, casts a warm, dancing glow over the silvered glass. As you lift your eyes, for the first time, to see the whole vision, the reflection that looks back feels like a stranger from a dream. You are no longer the person you were an hour ago. You have been encased in layers of history, silk, and light. Take a deep, slow breath and watch as your chest rises and falls beneath the structured silk of the bodice. The midnight blue of the gown appears almost black in the shadows, but where the candlelight hits, it shimmers with a deep, electric brilliance. Look at the silhouette you have created, the narrow waist supported by the firm, steady corset, and the immense, sweeping curve of the skirts that seem to flow like a dark river around your feet. Gently move your weight from one side to the other and listen to the symphony of the fabric, the deep, hollow rustle of the starched petticoats, the light, slippery hiss of the silk, and the faint, rhythmic clink of the jewelry against your collarbone. It is the sound of Victorian elegance, a sound that belongs only to this moment. Your eyes travel upward to the jewels, the pearls around your neck have warmed against your skin, glowing with a soft, inner light. The diamond earrings catch every tiny movement, throwing small, white sparks onto the walls, and your hair. The hairstyle, so intricate and regal, adds a sense of quiet authority to your posture. You notice the single, loose curl at your neck and the way the fresh jasmine still smells as sweet as if it were still in the garden. Reach out your gloved hand and touch the surface of the mirror. The glass is cool and smooth, a sharp contrast to the warmth of the room. Your reflection touches you back, finger to finger, a silent, shared secret between the past and the present. There is a deep, profound sense of satisfaction in this look. Every detail, every stitch, every hour of preparation has led to this single, perfect vision. In the background, the room is dim, the heavy, oak furniture lost in the shadows. Only you and the mirror exist in this circle of golden light. You are a masterpiece of texture and shadow, a living, breathing bridge to a world of music and mystery. You feel the weight of the gown, the tightness of the silk, the cold sparkle of the gems, and they give you a strange, calm strength. You are ready for the eyes of the world, ready for the grand entrance and the first swirling notes of the waltz. The mirror has told you everything you need to know. You are grace, you are elegance, you are the night itself. Behind you, the door to the hallway stands slightly ajar, and the light from the gas lamps outside begins to spill in. The time for looking is over, and the time for being has begun. With one last, lingering look, you turn away from your reflection, the silk skirts following you in a wide, graceful sweep. The mirror stays behind, holding the memory of your beauty in its silent, silver depths as you step out into the hall and toward the waiting carriage. The final look in the mirror is over, and now the journey truly begins. Step out of the warm, jasmine-scented dressing room and into the long, quiet hallway. The house feels different now, more echoing, more expectant, as you move toward the grand staircase. Each step you take causes the heavy, silk layers of your gown to whisper against the wooden floor. Shh! Rustle. Shh! A rhythmic, soothing sound that follows you like a loyal shadow. As you reach the front door, the cool evening air begins to seep through the cracks, a sharp, refreshing contrast to the warmth of the interior. Then you hear it. Coming from the distance, echoing through the quiet, foggy street, is the rhythmic, hollow beat of horse hooves. Clip-clop, clip-clop, clip-clop. The sound grows louder, more distinct, bouncing off the stone walls of the neighboring manors. It is a steady, hypnotic cadence that signals the arrival of your vessel for the night. The heavy oak front door is pulled open with a slow, groaning creak. Step out onto the porch and feel the mist of the Victorian night settle lightly on your skin. The air is damp, smelling of coal smoke, wet stone, and the coming winter. There, waiting at the foot of the stairs, is the carriage. It is a magnificent, black lacquered brougham, reflecting the golden glow of the house's lanterns like a polished, dark jewel. The horses two powerful, iron-gray beasts stand tall in the dim light, their breath rising in thick, white plumes into the cold air. Listen to them as they shift their weight from one hoof to another, the jingle of the silver harness, a bright, metallic sound that cuts through the muffled night silence. Chink, jingle, chink. They are restless, yet disciplined, ready to carry you into the heart of the city's festivities. The footman, dressed in a heavy wool greatcoat, steps forward with a quiet, practiced bow. He reaches for the carriage door and pulls it open, clack, creak. The interior is revealed, a small, private world lined in deep, tufted, midnight blue velvet. It looks soft, inviting, and incredibly warm. A small, silver-mounted step is lowered for you. As you gather your immense, silk skirts and prepare to climb inside, take one last look at the manor. It stands behind you, glowing with 100 candles, a fortress of elegance, in the dark. Then, you step up. Feel the slight, swaying motion of the carriage as it accepts your weight. The springs groan softly, a deep, rhythmic protest that feels secure and sturdy. Through the small, glass window, you see the footman climb onto his seat. A soft, muffled command is given, and then, with a gentle, forward lurch, the carriage begins to move. The hooves strike the cobblestones once again, but this time, you are inside, moving with the rhythm. Clip-clop, clip-clop. The journey has begun, and as the house fades into the fog behind you, you close your eyes for a moment, allowing the steady, swaying motion to lull you into a state of deep, peaceful anticipation. The night is ahead of you, and the road is paved with mystery. Inside the carriage, the world has become small, dark, and intimate, but as you gaze out of the narrow, glass window, a larger, more mysterious world begins to unfold. The carriage moves away from the quiet, residential square and enters the heart of the gaslit city. Victorian London at night is a place of shadows and soft, flickering highlights, a city that seems to breathe in the damp, cool air. Look out at the street as it stretches ahead. A thick, yellow-white fog, known as a London fog, has begun to roll in from the Thames. It wraps around the buildings like a soft, heavy blanket, muffling the sounds of the city and blurring the sharp edges of the stone walls. Everything looks like a painting in shades of charcoal, silver, and gold. Along the edge of the cobblestone road stand the gas lamps, tall, elegant, cast-iron sentinels that guard the night. Each one glows with a soft, unsteady flame, a warm amber light that struggles against the encroaching darkness. Watch as the carriage passes one lamp and then another. The light enters the carriage for a brief, golden moment, illuminating the velvet of the seats and the shimmer of your silk gown before fading back into shadow. Light and shadow, a rhythmic, hypnotic pattern that matches the beat of the horse's hooves. The sound of the gas lamps is something you have to listen for very closely, a faint, persistent hiss as the gas flows through the pipes. It is a quiet, comforting sound, the heartbeat of the modern city. Below the lamps, the wet cobblestones shine like the skin of a dark, sleeping serpent, reflecting the amber glow in long, distorted streaks. Every now and then, you catch a glimpse of a lamplighter, a solitary figure, moving through the fog with his long, wooden pole, bringing light to the corners of the night. The streets are not empty, but they feel private. You pass other carriages, moving in the opposite direction. You see the flicker of their side lanterns, like twin, glowing eyes, passing by with a muffled, rhythmic rumble of wooden wheels. Occasionally, the silhouette of a person emerges from the fog, a man in a top hat, or a flower girl, huddled in a doorway. They appear for a second, and then vanish, swallowed by the mist, like ghosts in a dream. As the carriage turns onto a wider thoroughfare, the architecture becomes more grand, tall, imposing buildings with dark, arched windows that look down with unblinking eyes. The fog clings to the wrought iron railings, forming tiny, crystal droplets of water that sparkle like diamonds under the gaslight. There is a scent in the air that belongs only to London, a mixture of wet soot, coal fire, the dampness of the river, and the faint, metallic smell of the gas. It is a beautiful, haunting landscape, a world that feels caught between the past and the future. Inside the carriage, you feel perfectly safe and perfectly alone, a passenger in a time machine moving through a city of shadows. The steady, swaying motion and the soft, amber light of the lamps create a sense of deep, meditative peace. You are no longer in a hurry to reach the ball, for the journey itself through the gaslit streets has become a kind of magic. The fog thickens for a moment, hiding the tops of the buildings and making the world feel even smaller, but then the carriage turns again, and in the distance you see a brighter, more intense glow, a cluster of many lights piercing through the mist. The grand houses of the Ballroom district are near, but the memory of the quiet, foggy, gaslit streets will stay with you long after the music begins to play. As the carriage moves deeper into the heart of the city, the visual world fades into a blur of fog and gaslight, and your senses begin to narrow, focusing entirely on the sounds of the journey. Close your eyes and lean your head back against the cool, velvet cushion. Listen to the symphony of the Victorian night, a rhythmic, ancient song written in wood, iron, and stone. The most prominent sound, the heartbeat of this journey, is the rhythmic strike of the horse's hooves against the wet, uneven cobblestones. Clip-clop, clip-clop, clip-clop. It is a hollow, percussive sound that echoes off the narrow stone walls of the buildings passing by. Each strike is distinct, a sharp, metallic contact, followed by a dull, rolling echo. The cadence is steady, deliberate, and incredibly calming, a repetitive loop that tells your mind it is time to drift. Listen to the variation in the tone as the carriage moves over different surfaces. When the stones are flat and worn, the sound is a soft, rapid patter, but when the carriage crosses a patch of rough, granite blocks, the sound becomes deeper, more resonant, a heavy, grounding thud that vibrates through the floor of the carriage and into your very bones. Thump clop, thump clop. It is the sound of progress without the rush of the modern world, a pace that honors the distance. And beneath the hooves, there is the constant, low-frequency rumble of the heavy wooden wheels. They are rimmed with iron, and as they roll, they create a continuous, grinding hum against the stone. Rumble, rumble. It is a deep, soothing vibration that feels like a physical weight pressing you down into the seat. Every now and then, a wheel drops into a small, shallow dip in the road, causing a sudden, gentle, clack creak of the wooden axle, a small, rhythmic hiccup in the steady flow of the journey. Listen to the leather of the harness as the horses pull, the thick leather straps stretch and moan, a soft, organic, creak stretch sound that speaks of strength and quiet effort. Combined with this is the faint, musical jingle of the silver buckles, and the bit in the horses' mouths, chink, tinkle, chink, a bright, delicate sound that dances on top of the heavy, rhythmic thudding of the hooves. The air rushing past the carriage windows adds a soft, white noise hiss to the background, a cold, damp wind that whispers of the foggy river and the dark, empty alleys, but inside you are enveloped in the sounds of warmth and security. Even the sound of your own silk gown becomes part of the rhythm every time the carriage sways, the fabric brushes against itself. Rustle, a soft, whispering accompaniment to the iron and stone. As the carriage slows for a turn, the rhythm changes, becomes more spaced, more deliberate. Clip, clop, clip, clop, and for a moment there is a profound, expectant silence, broken only by the horses' deep, heavy breath, whoosh, as they exhale into the cold, night air. Then, the rhythm picks up again, pulling you back into its steady, comforting embrace, leading you, step by step, through the echoing, cobblestone dark, toward the lights of the ballroom. Gaze out into the darkness as we pass through a quiet residential district. The tall, narrow townhouses stand like dark, stone giants, their windows mostly shuttered and silent. Only here and there, a single candle burns in an upper room, a tiny, flickering star in the vast, urban night. The silence of the city outside the carriage is thick and heavy, a silence that is only broken by the steady, rhythmic clip-clop of our horses, which seems to echo more loudly now in the empty streets. Imagine the feeling of the carriage swaying gently from side to side. It is a slow, rhythmic motion, like a cradle being rocked by an unseen hand. Lean your head against the padded velvet and watch the shadows of the gas lamps dance across the ceiling of the cabin. Light, then dark, then light again, a slow, hypnotic pulse that makes your eyelids feel heavy and relaxed. There is no one to talk to, no need for conversation. This is a time for reflection, for quiet, internal preparation. You pass over a stone bridge, and for a moment, the sound of the hooves changes, becoming more hollow and echoing as the water of the Thames flows silently beneath you. The river is a dark, shimmering ribbon, reflecting the distant, misty lights of the docks. The fog is thinner here, allowing you to see the outlines of the distant cathedrals and the skeletal arms of the cranes resting for the night. The city feels like a living thing that is currently fast asleep, and you are a silent traveler moving through its dreams. The rhythm of the wheels against the stones, hum, 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 becomes a background melody, a white noise that drowns out the worries of the day. You feel a deep sense of anonymity. In this moment, you are just a silhouette in a passing carriage, a ghost in the Victorian fog. There is a strange, comforting freedom in being unseen, in moving through the world without being a part of it. As the carriage enters a more affluent neighborhood, the streets become wider and the architecture more ornate. You see the dark, wrought iron gates of private parks and the silhouettes of ancient oaks, their bare branches reaching out like delicate, black lace against the indigo sky. The air feels crisper here, and the sound of the horses is muffled by a thin layer of evening mist that has settled on the road. The carriage turns a final corner, and the silence begins to fade as the sounds of other carriages and the distant, muffled notes of an orchestra begin to drift through the air. But the calm of this quiet ride remains with you, a steady inner stillness that you will carry with you through the grand doors and into the brilliance of the ball. The ride is almost over, but the peace it has brought will stay. The quiet, lonely streets are now behind us, and the air begins to change. It becomes thicker, more vibrant, filled with a new kind of energy. As the carriage slows, you can feel the shift in the atmosphere. We are no longer alone in the fog. Around us, the rhythmic clip-clop of other horses begins to join our own, creating a complex layering of sounds, like 1,000 wooden heartbeats echoing through the night. Look out of the window and see the line of carriages stretching down the long, gaslit avenue. Each one is a dark, polished jewel, reflecting the flickering lamps and the golden light spilling from the open doors of the grand mansion ahead. The fog here is illuminated, turned into a glowing, amber haze, by the hundreds of candles burning within the house. It looks as though the building itself is made of light, a beacon, standing tall against the cold. Victorian dark. The movement of the carriage becomes intermittent, a slow, graceful crawl. Move forward, then stop, move forward, then stop. Each time we stop, you can hear the faint, musical laughter drifting from the carriages nearby, and the rustle of silk as ladies adjust their gowns, preparing for the moment they step out into the world. The anticipation is a physical thing now, a soft, fluttering pulse in the hollow of your throat, a sweet, electric tension that makes the air inside the cabin feel charged and expectant. Listen to the sounds outside the door. The shouts of the link boys, carrying their flaming torches to guide the carriages, the deep, authoritative voices of the footmen, and the constant, rhythmic jingle of harness brasses. Chink, jingle, chink. It is a symphony of arrival, a grand, chaotic, yet perfectly ordered ritual. You find yourself smoothing the silk of your gown one last time, feeling the cool, slippery texture beneath your gloved fingers, checking the placement of a pearl or the fold of a lace fan. Through the glass, you see the grand entrance drawing closer. The massive, stone pillars of the manor are draped in ivy and bathed in the warm, yellow glow of the entryway lanterns. Red carpet has been rolled out across the damp, gray pavement, looking like a river of velvet leading into the heart of the house. You see a lady stepping out of the carriage ahead, her white silk gown catching the light for a fleeting second before she vanishes through the tall, arched doorway. Now, it is almost our turn. The carriage moves forward one last time and comes to a complete, final halt. The swaying motion stops, and for a moment, there is a profound, expectant silence inside the cabin. Your heart beats, in time, with the ticking of your small, gold pocket watch. Tick, tick, tick. This is the threshold, the bridge, between the quiet journey and the brilliant, dazzling reality of the ball. The footman's shadow passes across the window. You hear his footsteps, heavy and purposeful, on the pavement, and then the sound of the handle being turned. Click, creak. The door swings open, and a wave of sound, and light, and warmth rushes in to meet you. You can hear the distant, muffled notes of a violin tuning its strings, and the low, constant hum of 100 voices. The night air, though cold, feels fresh and exhilarating. You take a deep, steadying breath, filling your lungs with the scent of wet stone and expensive perfume. The anticipation has reached its peak. There is nothing left to do but to step out into the light. Reach for the footman's hand and feel the solid, grounding strength of his grip as you prepare to leave the safety of the carriage and enter the magnificent, glittering world that has been waiting just for you. The arrival is here, and the magic is about to begin. The carriage door has closed behind you, and now you stand at the foot of the grand, stone steps. The cool night air brushes against your skin, but the warmth from the open doors above beckons you forward. Take a slow, steady breath as you place your gloved hand on the cold, marble banister. As you begin your ascent, listen to the sound of your silk gown whispering against the stone steps. Shh! Rustle. Shh! It is a heavy, rhythmic sound that echoes under the high, arched portico. With every step, the music from within grows clearer, the sweet, soaring notes of a violin mingling with the deep, resonant hum of elegant conversation. You reach the top, and the massive mahogany doors are held open by two silent, liveried footmen. As you step across the threshold, the transition is total. The damp, foggy world of London vanishes, replaced by a world of blinding, golden light. The air is thick and sweet, smelling of thousands of fresh lilies and the warm, honeyed scent of beeswax candles. Before you lies the grand staircase, a sweeping, double curve of polished wood and white marble. At the top, a massive, crystal chandelier hangs like a frozen, celestial star. Its thousands of glass prisms catch the light of the candles and shatter it into a rain of tiny, dancing rainbows that play across the walls and your gown. Pause for a moment at the top of the stairs. This is your entrance. Feel the weight of the moment as the guests below, in their sea of black wool and shimmering silk, look up. There is a brief, expectant hush, a pause in the music of life as you appear. Your fan remains closed, a steady, comforting weight in your hand. Your posture, held firm by the corset, is regal and calm. Begin your walk down, slowly, gracefully. You feel as though you are floating on a cloud of silk and lace. The floor of the ballroom is a vast, mirror-like expanse of waxed oak, reflecting the lights and the people like the surface of a still, golden lake. Every step you take is a deliberate, rhythmic movement. As you reach the bottom, the sounds of the ball envelop you, the musical, rhythmic click, click, click of fans opening and closing, the soft, melodic laughter, and the deep, rhythmic pulse of the orchestra tuning for the next waltz. You have arrived. The transition is complete. You are no longer a traveler in a dark carriage. You are now a part of the light, a part of the mystery, and the grand ballroom is yours to explore. The vast expanse of the ballroom floor lies ahead, but before you can lose yourself in the music, there is a final, essential ritual of the Victorian evening. You must pay your respects to the master and mistress of the house. They stand near the center of the hall, a focal point of dignity and tradition, surrounded by the warm, golden glow of the candelabras. Move forward, slowly, allowing your silk skirts to sweep gracefully behind you. The sound of the ballroom is a muffled hum, a background melody of clinking crystal and soft, whispered secrets. As you approach, the host and hostess turn toward you with a practiced, welcoming smile. The master of the house, dressed in a stark, black evening coat, bows his head slightly, a gesture of respect that has been refined over generations. The hostess, a vision in deep emerald velvet, offers her hand. As you take it, feel the softness of her silk glove against your own, a brief, gentle contact that bridges the gap between guest and host. Her eyes are bright, reflecting the thousands of candles that illuminate the room. She murmurs a greeting, her voice a soft, rhythmic melody that is lost to everyone but you. "We are so pleased you could join us tonight," she says, her words as smooth and polished as the marble floor beneath you. You respond with a slow, graceful curtsy. Feel the weight of your petticoats as you sink down and then rise again in one fluid, continuous motion. Your voice, when you speak, is calm and steady, a quiet, elegant echo in the grand hall. The pleasure is entirely mine. It is a magnificent evening. In this moment, time seems to pause. You are part of a dance that has no music, a dance of etiquette and grace. The scent here is a heady mixture of her expensive, rose-scented perfume and the crisp, metallic smell of the silver tray being carried by a passing footman. Everything is formal, yet filled with a genuine, quiet warmth. As the conversation draws to a polite close, the hostess gives a tiny, approving nod, a silent signal that you are now, truly, a part of the festivities. You step back, slowly, and for a moment, you are just a silhouette against the brilliant, golden light. The greeting is finished, the formality is complete. You have been officially welcomed into this magical, shimmering world. The orchestra begins to play a soft, introductory melody, and you feel a sense of deep, peaceful release. The transition from the world outside to the world within is now absolute. You turn away from the hosts, your gown rustling softly. Shh, shh, and begin to move toward the heart of the ballroom, ready at last to dance, to breathe, and to be a part of the night's unfolding story. Now you stand directly beneath the center of the hall, and as you lift your gaze upward, you are met with a sight of breathtaking, celestial beauty. Hanging from the high, ornate ceiling is the grand, crystal chandelier, the beating heart of the manor's light. It is not merely an object, but a masterpiece of Victorian engineering and art, designed to turn the simple flame of a candle into 1,000 dancing stars. Observe the structure, a massive, tiered waterfall of hand-cut, lead crystal prisms. Each individual crystal is shaped to catch the light and shatter it into a spectrum of soft, shimmering colors. There are hundreds of pure, beeswax candles, arranged in concentric circles, their flames flickering in the gentle currents of air, created by the movement of the dancers below. With every tiny tremor of the flame, the chandelier responds, sending ripples of golden light across the ivory-colored walls and the silk of your gown. If you listen closely, in the rare moments between the orchestra's melodies, you can hear the secret music of the chandelier itself. As the warm air rises from the candles, the thousands of glass prisms sway ever so slightly, brushing against one another with a faint, melodic tinkle, tinkle, tinkle. It is a sound as delicate as falling ice or the distant chiming of silver bells. It is a sound that speaks of luxury, of stillness, and of a time when light was something to be cherished and crafted by hand. The light produced by these candles is unlike anything in the modern world. It is not harsh or static, but a living, breathing glow. It casts long, soft shadows that move and breathe along with the guests. It gives the skin a warm, healthy radiance and makes the diamonds around your neck flare with a sudden, white fire. Under this golden canopy, every face looks younger, every smile more mysterious, and every movement more graceful. Look down at the floor, the vast expanse of polished, dark oak, which has been waxed until it reflects the world above like the surface of a still mountain lake. You can see the entire chandelier reflected beneath your feet, as if you are standing, not on solid wood, but on a thin, transparent bridge between two heavens of light. Every step you take creates a ripple in the golden reflection, making you feel as though you are walking through a dream made of fire and glass. As you stand there, bathed in this descending rain of light, you feel a sense of profound, meditative calm. The chaos of the city outside, the fog, the mud, the noise, they all feel miles away. Here, under the protection of the crystals, there is only beauty, only rhythm, and only light. You are a part of this shimmering tapestry, a single figure in a grand, golden vision. The candles will eventually burn down, and the light will fade, but for now, in this perfect moment, you are illuminated from every side, a vision of elegance, caught in a cage of sparkling, timeless crystal. The low hum of conversation gradually begins to soften, like a tide receding from the shore, as a collective sense of anticipation settles over the room. High above, in the gilded gallery overlooking the ballroom, the musicians have taken their places. You hear the initial, sharp notes of the violins as they tune their strings, a series of quick, staccato plucks and long, searching bows that cut through the warm air. Pluck, slide, pluck. Then, a sudden, expectant silence falls. The conductor raises his baton, a slender white line against the velvet shadows, and with a single, decisive motion, the evening truly begins. The first notes of the orchestra erupt like a fountain of gold, filling the vast space of the ballroom with a rich, resonant harmony. It is a grand opening, a regal melody that seems to vibrate within the very stones of the manor. The violins lead the way with a soaring, lyrical theme that pulls at the heartstrings, while the cellos and double basses provide a deep, grounding pulse, a rhythmic heartbeat that you can feel through the soles of your shoes on the polished oak floor. Listen to the layers of the music as they unfold. The piano adds a shimmering texture, its notes falling like raindrops into a still lake, drip, sparkle, drip, while the woodwinds breathe a soft, airy sweetness into the melody. This is not merely background music, it is the soul of the Victorian ball. It is a sound that commands grace, a sound that demands you stand taller, move slower, and breathe in time with the phrasing of the strings. As the music swells, watch the way the candlelight seems to pulse in rhythm with the crescendos. The grand chandelier above sways ever so slightly, its crystals catching the vibrations of the deep bass notes, creating a subtle, shimmering dance of light on the ceiling. The transition in the room is palpable. Faces that were previously locked in private conversation now turn toward the center of the floor. The music acts as a universal language, weaving together the hundreds of guests into a single, breathing entity. You feel a change within yourself as well. The electric tension of the violins seems to travel through your veins, making your fingertips tingle inside your silk gloves. The rhythm is infectious, a slow and steady waltz time that begins to sway your body even before you take your first step. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It is a hypnotic cadence that erases the world outside the manor walls. The fog, the muddy streets, and the cold London wind are forgotten, replaced entirely by this masterpiece of sound. The orchestra is telling a story, a tale of romance, of history, and of the fleeting beauty of the night. The melody climbs higher and higher, reaching a peak of emotional intensity that makes the air feel thick with magic. You see the musicians in the gallery, their bodies moving as one with their instruments, their bows a blur of rhythmic motion. They are the architects of this dream, building a cathedral of sound for you to inhabit. As the introductory piece draws to a close, a final, lingering note from the lead violin hangs in the air, sustained and pure, before slowly fading into the soft rustle of silk and lace. The room holds its breath for one more second, the silence now heavy with the promise of what is to come. The music has set the stage, it has opened the doors to the imagination, and as the conductor prepares for the first dance, you realize that you are no longer just an observer. You are a part of the symphony, and the night is yours to dance away. The moment has finally arrived, the atmosphere is thick with a sweet, electric tension, and the air is heavy with the scent of lilies and warm beeswax. The conductor raises his baton once more, and a hush falls over the glittering crowd. Then, the first 3 beats of the waltz resonate through the hall. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It is the signal for the floor to come alive. Imagine your partner stepping forward, a gentle bow, a hand offered in a silent invitation. As you place your gloved hand in theirs, you feel the strength and the courtly grace of the era. You move together toward the center of the vast, mirror-like oak floor. The first step is taken, and suddenly, the world begins to turn. The heavy, midnight blue silk of your gown catches the air, blooming outward like a dark, elegant flower. The sensation of the waltz is unlike any other. It is a rhythmic, swirling motion that defies gravity. As you rotate, the grand ballroom becomes a blur of golden light and shimmering color. The faces of the guests, the glow of the gas lamps, and the towering crystal chandelier above all merge into a single, dreamlike tapestry. Glide, step, slide. Your feet move with a practiced, effortless precision, barely touching the waxed wood beneath you. Listen to the symphony of the movement. Beneath the soaring violins, there is the rhythmic hiss, shh, hiss, shh, of dozens of silk gowns sweeping across the floor, a sound like the gentle breaking of waves on a distant shore. The floor itself seems to vibrate with the collective pulse of the dancers, a deep, grounding thrum that anchors the airy melody of the orchestra. Every turn you make feels like a heartbeat, steady, certain, and profoundly beautiful. You feel the air rushing past your face, cooling your skin as the speed of the dance increases. The scent of your jasmine perfume mingles with the roses worn by other ladies, creating a heady, floral cloud that follows you in your wake. Your partner's hand is a steady anchor at your waist, guiding you through the intricate patterns of the dance. You are no longer an individual, you have become part of a larger, living geometry, a kaleidoscope of velvet and lace moving in perfect harmony. The centrifugal force of the waltz makes you feel light, almost weightless. The corset, which felt so firm earlier, now provides the support you need to maintain your regal posture through the dizzying turns. You tilt your head back slightly, catching glimpses of the ceiling's ornate plasterwork and the flickering flames of the candles. For a few minutes, time has no meaning, there is only the music, the motion, and the magic of the moment. As the waltz reaches its crescendo, the orchestra pours every ounce of emotion into the strings. The sound swells, filling your chest and making your heart race with a quiet exhilaration. The world spins faster and faster, a dizzying, beautiful whirlpool of elegance. And then, as the final, long note is drawn out by the violins, the movement slows. The momentum carries you through one last, graceful circle, until you come to a soft, lingering halt. The room slowly settles back into focus. You stand breathless, your heart still echoing the triple-time rhythm of the dance. Your gown settles around your feet with a final, satisfying rustle. Shh! A deep bow, a respectful curtsy, and the first dance of the evening is complete. The silence that follows is filled with the soft sound of opening fans and the quiet, collective exhale of 100 dancers. You have conquered the floor, and the night is now truly, magnificently yours. As the clock strikes the beginning of the late-night festivities, a new layer of intrigue descends upon the ballroom. The transition into the mystery of the masquerade tradition begins. A masquerade is not merely a party, it is a ritual of shadows, a temporary suspension of identity that allowed the Victorian soul to breathe behind a screen of silk and velvet. As you reach for your own mask, feel the smooth, cool texture of the papier-mâché and the delicate touch of the lace trim. Putting on the mask is a transformative act. As the ribbons are tied behind your head, the world outside the islets changes. You are no longer bound by the rigid social expectations of your name or your rank. Behind the mask, you are a shadow, a whisper, a mystery to be solved. The ballroom, once a place of clear recognition, has now become a labyrinth of hidden smiles and guarded gazes. You see the other guests, figures in gold, crimson, and midnight blue, their faces replaced by the likenesses of foxes, swans, and mythical creatures. Listen to the change in the atmosphere. The sound of conversation has shifted. It is no longer a clear, open hum, but a collection of muffled whispers and low, conspiratorial laughs. Whisper, rustle, whisper. People lean closer to one another, their voices disguised, their identities protected by the decorative shields they wear. There is a thrill in the unknown, a quiet, electric excitement that pulses through the room as strangers dance with friends, and friends treat each other as strangers. The history of the masquerade is one of secrets and subversion. Originally a tradition of the Venetian carnivals, it found a home in the grand houses of London as a way to escape the stifling formality of the day. Within these walls, for this one night, the mask is your freedom. You watch a figure across the room, a gentleman hidden behind a black velvet domino mask. He bows, his eyes glinting through the narrow openings, and you wonder, is he an old acquaintance or someone you have never met? The mystery is the music of this hour. Move through the crowd and feel the rustle of the elaborate costumes. The tradition demands mystery, but it also demands opulence. The masks are adorned with ostrich feathers that sway with every step, and tiny, hand-painted details that reflect the flickering candlelight. The scent of the room has changed as well. The heavy lilies are joined by the smell of ancient dust from stored costumes, the ink of the masks, and the sweet, sharp aroma of the spiced wines being served. The masquerade creates a strange, beautiful tension. You are hyper-aware of your own movements, the way your head turns, the way your fan hides the lower half of your face. Every gesture becomes a clue in a grand game. The orchestra plays a different kind of melody now, darker, more minor, with a rhythmic, haunting undertone that mimics the secrecy of the masks. The violins seem to ask questions that the cellos refuse to answer. Diddle-dee, hum, diddle-dee. Soon, the hour of unmasking will arrive, and the reality of the morning will return. But for now, cherish the anonymity. The secret of the masquerade is that everyone is playing a part, and in the theater of the ballroom, the most beautiful truth is the one hidden behind the most exquisite lie. Enjoy the mystery, for once the mask is removed, the magic of the shadow self fades back into the light. As the midnight hour approaches, the ballroom undergoes a profound atmospheric shift. The air grows thicker with a sense of playful deception, and the boundaries of reality begin to blur. This is the moment where the masks are raised, the costumes are adjusted, and the theater of hidden identities truly takes center stage. Imagine the weight of your own mask as it rests against your skin, a delicate barrier made of silk-lined parchment or stiffened lace, transforming you from a lady of society into a creature of myth. The visual landscape of the room has become a breathtaking kaleidoscope of the strange and the beautiful. You see a figure draped in the plumage of a peacock, the iridescent blues and greens shimmering under the candlelight. Another guest appears as a character from a Venetian opera, their face hidden behind a long-nosed médecin de la peste mask that casts a long, haunting shadow against the damask walls. There is a thrill in this visual chaos, a break from the predictable black coats and white gowns of earlier. Now, every person is a riddle, a living puzzle waiting to be deciphered. Listen to the peculiar change in the sounds of the room. The laughter is higher, more mischievous, muffled by the fabric and silver leaf of the masks. Hee, whisper, rustle. Voices are intentionally altered, some pitched higher, some dropping to a gravelly bass, as guests attempt to evade recognition from their closest friends. You hear the soft click-clack of beaded costumes swaying in time with the music, a rhythmic, metallic texture that adds a new layer to the orchestra's haunting minor chords. It is a symphony of anonymity, where the only thing certain is the heartbeat of the dance. To wear a costume in this grand tradition is to experience a curious kind of freedom. Behind the mask, your eyes feel sharper, more observant. You notice the way a harlequin leans against the refreshment table, or how a veiled enchantress glides across the floor with an anonymity that grants her a sudden, daring confidence. The masks allow for a crossing of social lines that would be impossible in the light of day. A secret shared between a masked countess and a hidden suitor becomes a treasure of the night, a memory that will remain forever nameless. The textures of this hour are rich and varied. Reach out and feel the rough embroidery of a heavy brocade sleeve as a stranger passes you by. Smell the faint scent of the glue and paint from a newly crafted mask, mingling with the heavy aroma of the incense burning in the corners of the hall. There is a warmth to the room now, a physical heat generated by the layers of velvet, fur, and silk that constitute these elaborate disguises. It is a sensory overload, a lush, velvet-draped dream where everyone is a performer in a play without a script. The candles have burned lower now, their flickering light creating long, distorted reflections in the tall mirrors. The costumed figures dancing in the glass look like spirits from another century, a ghostly parade of hidden faces. The tension of the reveal hangs in the air, a delicious wait for the moment when the masks must fall. But for now, the secret is the prize. You wrap your silk shawl tighter around your shoulders, feeling the edge of your mask, and smile a hidden smile. The mystery of who you are is the most beautiful thing you own tonight. As the masquerade reaches its midnight peak, a playful, intellectual tension settles over the ballroom. The dancing continues, but the primary occupation of the night has shifted to a grand, social game of deduction. In every corner of the room, beneath the heavy velvet curtains and beside the cooling punch bowls, groups of masked figures gather to engage in the delightful puzzle of identity. Guests are leaning in close, their eyes narrowed behind slits of gold and silk, trying to catch a familiar glint or a recognizable gesture that might betray a friend. Listen to the hum of the room, it has changed into a rhythmic, inquisitive buzz. Is that the Duchess of Sutherland behind the silver swan? Someone whispers, their voice a low, melodic vibration. No, the tilt of the head is wrong, and the laugh, that silver laugh belongs to someone younger, comes the reply. Whisper, chuckle, rustle. You find yourself caught in this game of wits, moving through the crowd as both a predator and a prey in this hunt for truth. You observe the way a gentleman in a lion's mask adjusts his cufflinks, a silver habit you've seen 100 times at the club, and you smile behind your own lace barrier, knowing his secret while he remains oblivious to yours. The air is filled with the scent of curiosity, a mixture of the sweet, floral perfumes of the ladies and the sharp, woody aroma of the gentlemen's pomades. To guess a hidden identity is an art form in itself. You look for the small, uncontrollable details, the way a certain lady holds her fan with a specific, rhythmic flick of the wrist, or the way a gentleman stands with a slight, characteristic slouch that no costume can truly hide. These are the tells of the Victorian elite, the tiny cracks in the armor of the masquerade. As you glide past a group of costumed figures, you feel the weight of their collective gaze upon you. You hear the soft, muffled speculation as you pass. The midnight blue gown, it must be her, but the height seems different tonight. It is an exhilarating sensation to be the subject of such mystery. You intentionally alter your walk, adopting a slower, more measured pace to further confuse your observers. The mystery of who is behind the mask is a powerful social currency, and for this hour, you are one of the wealthiest people in the room. Imagine the interactions that occur under this shroud of anonymity. A brother speaks to a sister without realizing it, a rival offers a compliment to an enemy, and lovers exchange glances that would be scandalous if their faces were bare. The game of guessing creates a shared, secret intimacy between everyone in the hall. Every "who are you" is asked with a playful lilt, and every "guess if you can" is a rhythmic challenge that echoes through the music of the orchestra. The candles in the great chandelier are burning down, casting longer, more dramatic shadows that help to further obscure the truth. In the mirrors, the reflected images of masks and costumes seem to shift and move independently, adding to the sense of a world where nothing is quite as it seems. The suspense is a soft, constant pressure, a delicious wait for the moment of the great reveal. But as you watch a harlequin fail to recognize his own wife, you realize that the guessing is far more entertaining than the knowing. There is a profound, rhythmic peace in this collective confusion. It is a holiday for the ego, a night where you can be anyone, and everyone else can be anything. You feel the silk of your mask against your cheek, a warm, constant reminder of your hidden status. You take a slow, deep breath, inhaling the scent of adventure and the quiet, electric thrill of the unknown. The game continues, the whispers grow bolder, and the mystery deepens as the clock ticks closer to the hour when all masks must eventually fall. For now, however, the secret is yours to keep, and the puzzle is yours to play. The atmosphere of the masquerade has reached a state of exquisite, playful mischief, and as the orchestra transitions into a softer, more intimate melody, the grand ballroom transforms into a garden of whispered secrets and daring introductions. Behind the safety of the masks, the usual rigid boundaries of Victorian decorum have begun to soften, replaced by a rhythmic, light-hearted dance of words. Guests lean closer than they ever would in the light of day, their voices lowered to a melodic, conspiratorial hum that weaves through the scent of lilies and champagne. Listen to the sound of these secret introductions. Unlike the formal announcements of the grand entrance, these meetings are quiet, unchoreographed, and filled with a sweet, electric tension. A gentleman in a fox mask approaches a lady draped in silver lace, offering a bow that is just a fraction deeper than tradition demands. "I believe we have shared a dance in another life," he whispers, his voice disguised yet filled with a rhythmic, teasing warmth. There is no exchange of names, no checking of social standing, only the shared magic of the mask. The conversations are like a game of musical riddles. You find yourself caught in a circle of strangers near a marble pillar, the candlelight dancing off the gold leaf of your mask. Every question asked is a playful probe, and every answer is a clever evasion. "Tell me, mysterious traveler, do you come from the east or the west?" a hidden voice asks with a soft, musical chuckle. You respond with a flick of your fan, snap rustle, a rhythmic signal that suggests you are everywhere and nowhere at once. The anonymity acts as a social lubricant, allowing for wit and charm to take precedence over cold, dry facts. Move through the room and witness the secret alliances being formed in the shadows. You see a knight and a shepherdess tucked away in a velvet alcove, their heads bowed together in a private world of their own making. They are speaking of dreams, of poetry, and of the stars, subjects far too romantic for the stiff tea tables of the afternoon. The secret introductions are not just about meeting someone new, they are about meeting someone differently, revealing a hidden side of the soul that normally remains buttoned up in wool and starch. The rhythm of the night is now one of constant, flowing movement. Small groups form and dissolve like patterns in a kaleidoscope. Whisper, laugh, move. There is a profound, meditative joy in this light-hearted deception. You feel the warmth of the room, the scent of the spiced wine, and the gentle pressure of the secret you carry behind your own silk barrier. Every introduction is a small adventure, a tiny door opening into a world of possibility that will vanish at sunrise. As the midnight supper is announced, the guests begin to drift toward the dining hall, still whispering, still guessing, still playing. You take a deep, steadying breath, feeling the cool silk of your mask against your skin and the rhythmic pulse of the night in your veins. These playful conversations have woven a new tapestry of connection across the ballroom, a web of secrets that will remain long after the masks are put away. You move forward with a light step, ready to see what the next secret encounter holds in this night of beautiful, hidden truths. The ballroom has now transformed into something truly otherworldly, a space where reality and fantasy have bled into one another, creating a magical atmosphere that feels suspended in time. As you stand on the edge of the dance floor, the world appears as a swirling vortex of color, shadow, and golden light. The Victorian manor is no longer just a house of stone and wood, it has become a living, breathing dream, a cathedral of secrets where every flickering candle tells a story. Look up at the great chandelier, its light now filtered through the haze of 100 moving silks. The crystal prisms no longer just sparkle, they seem to vibrate with the collective energy of the masked dancers, casting long, rhythmic shadows that stretch and dance across the ornate ceiling like ghostly spirits. The air itself feels different, thicker, warmer, and charged with a sweet, electric mystery. It carries the heavy scent of crushed rose petals, the sharp tang of expensive champagne, and the ancient, woody aroma of the polished oak floor. Listen to the soundscape of this magical hour. The orchestra's music has taken on a haunting, ethereal quality, the violins crying out in long, soaring arcs that seem to float above the crowd. Beneath the melody, you hear the rhythmic hiss, shh, of heavy gowns, the clicking of wooden fans, and the muffled, melodic laughter of people who have forgotten their true names. It is a symphony of anonymity, a sound that lulls the mind into a state of deep, meditative wonder. Step, turn, glide, the world moves in a triple-time rhythm that anchors you to the present moment. The tall mirrors lining the walls have become portals into a parallel world. In their silver depths, you see a sea of feathers, lace, and velvet, a kaleidoscope of creatures, swans, lions, and harlequins, moving in perfect, silent synchronicity. The reflections are so vivid, so intense, that you begin to wonder which side of the glass is the reality and which is the dream. There is a profound sense of peace in this confusion, a realization that for tonight, you are part of a masterpiece that will never be painted, a poem that will never be written. Every movement in this magical atmosphere feels deliberate and graceful. You reach out and touch the cold marble of a nearby pillar, its solidity a stark contrast to the fluid, shifting shadows around you. You feel the silk of your own mask against your cheeks, a gentle reminder that you are both a participant and an observer in this grand illusion. The tension of the outside world, the politics, the city, the passage of time, has completely vanished. As the midnight bells begin to toll in the distance, their deep, rhythmic echoes grounding the flight of the music, the magic reaches its peak. You take a deep, slow breath, letting the golden warmth of the room fill your lungs. This is the heart of the Victorian ball, a fleeting, shimmering moment of pure enchantment. You close your eyes for a second, imprinting the rhythm, the scent, and the light onto your memory, for though the masks will eventually fall, the magic of this ballroom will remain forever etched in the silence of your soul. As the night matures and the initial whirlwind of the masquerade begins to settle into a more rhythmic, measured pace, we turn our attention to the invisible architecture that holds this entire world together, the strict, yet beautiful, rules of Victorian ballroom etiquette. To the modern eye, these rules might seem like a cage, but here, in the golden glow of the candles, they are the very thing that allows the magic to flourish. They are the silent language of respect, grace, and social harmony. Listen to the subtle sounds of these rules in action. The rhythmic snap of a fan being closed as a lady accepts an invitation, the soft, polite murmur of a gentleman asking a chaperone for permission, these are the small, percussive notes in the symphony of the evening. A lady's dance card, hanging by a silk ribbon from her wrist, is the most sacred document in the room. It is a small, ivory-colored tablet where names are inscribed in delicate pencil, a rhythmic record of the night's journey. To skip a dance or to claim a turn out of order is to break the spell of the entire ballroom. The etiquette of the dance floor itself is a masterpiece of spatial geometry. As the orchestra plays, the dancers move in a counterclockwise circle, a steady, flowing river of silk and wool. There is a silent rule of distance, never too close, yet never too far, ensuring that even in a crowded hall of hundreds, there is a sense of private, dignified space. You feel the rhythm of this order in your very bones. It is a meditative structure that allows you to lose yourself in the music without ever losing your poise. Even the way a fan is held carries a hidden code of conduct. A fan placed against the right cheek means yes, against the left, no. Drawn across the forehead, it whispers, "We are watched." This silent vocabulary allows for a secret conversation to happen in plain sight, a layer of mystery that exists beneath the formal surface of the ball. It is a rhythmic pulse of communication that only the initiated can truly understand. As you move toward the refreshment table, notice the etiquette of the pause. A gentleman never leaves a lady alone in the middle of the floor. He escorts her to a seat or to her party with a final, respectful bow. These small gestures of service and consideration are the glue that binds the community together. They create an atmosphere of safety and predictability, allowing the heart to feel at ease even in the midst of grand splendor. There is a profound beauty in this discipline. It is the art of self-control elevated to a form of poetry. By following these ancient rules, everyone in the room contributes to the collective dream. The etiquette ensures that the light remains bright, the music remains sweet, and the dignity of the night remains untarnished by the chaos of the outside world. As you settle into a velvet chair for a moment of rest, you feel a deep, grounding peace. The rules are not there to limit you, but to protect the magic of the moment, and in the rhythmic adherence to these traditions, you find a timeless, elegant freedom. As the evening enters its most rhythmic phase, the ballroom floor becomes a stage for the two great pillars of Victorian dance, the intoxicating swirl of the waltz and the structured, communal elegance of the quadrille. These dances are not just movements, they are the heartbeats of the night, each offering a different way to experience the magic of the music and the company of others. Feel the shift in the room's energy as the orchestra prepares for this transition, a subtle tightening of the atmosphere as the guests organize themselves into the geometry of the dance. First comes the waltz, the dance of the heart. As the violins begin their triple-time melody, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, the room dissolves into a soft, spinning blur. The waltz is an intimate journey, a private conversation between two people in the middle of a crowd. You feel the steady, grounding pressure of your partner's hand as you begin to rotate, a slow, rhythmic revolution that seems to defy the stillness of the walls. The heavy silk of the gowns blooms outward, creating a sea of undulating color that mimics the rise and fall of the music. There is a meditative quality to the spin, a gentle dizziness that makes the flickering candles look like long, golden ribbons of light. But then, the tempo changes, and the floor reorganizes for the quadrille, the dance of the mind and society. Unlike the private world of the waltz, the quadrille is a grand, architectural display of coordination. You take your place in a square of 4 couples, a human fortress of lace and wool. The music is now bright, staccato, and filled with a playful, rhythmic precision. Step, bow, change. You move in perfect synchronicity with your neighbors, weaving in and out of the patterns like a needle through fine embroidery. Listen to the sounds of the quadrille. It is a symphony of small, percussive noises, the rhythmic clack of heels on the waxed oak, the soft whoosh of air as 8 people move in unison, and the quiet, synchronized whispers of the instructions called out by the leader. There is a deep, satisfying peace in this order, a sense of being part of something larger than yourself. As you cross hands with a stranger and move to the next position, you feel the interconnectedness of the entire ballroom, a web of grace and manners that keeps the world in its proper place. The contrast between these two dances is the secret to the night's endurance. The waltz allows for the soul to soar and the heart to dream, while the quadrille brings you back to the warmth of the community and the safety of tradition. One is a whirlwind, the other is a tapestry. Together, they create a rhythmic balance that carries you through the hours, preventing the fatigue of the night from ever settling in. As the final set of the quadrille comes to a triumphant close, with a collective bow and a final flourish from the violins, you feel a sense of profound accomplishment. Your breath is steady, your spirit is light, and your body is perfectly tuned to the vibrations of the room. The waltzes and quadrilles have woven a story of elegance and order that you will carry with you long after the music stops. You take a slow, deep breath, smoothing your skirts as the orchestra pauses. In the brief, golden interludes between the grand dances, the ballroom breathes. The frantic energy of the waltz subsides, replaced by a rhythmic, gentle hum of quiet conversations. As the orchestra members turn the pages of their sheet music and the violins fall into a soft, melodic rest, the guests drift toward the edges of the room like colorful petals settling after a storm. This is the time for the small talk that carries the true weight of the evening, the whispered confidences and the light-hearted jests that happen in the cooling air of the hall. Listen to the sound of these moments. It is a tapestry of delicate acoustics. The rhythmic snap, snap, snap of ivory fans being unfolded, the soft, musical clink of a silver spoon against a china teacup, and the low, hushed tones of voices that no longer need to compete with the swell of the brass section. You find yourself standing in a quiet alcove, draped in heavy crimson velvet, feeling the cool stone of the wall behind you. The transition from the movement of the dance to the stillness of conversation brings a deep, meditative calm to your spirit. In these quiet pauses, the air feels different, lighter, yet more intimate. You lean toward your companion, the scent of their cologne or perfume mingling with the lingering aroma of the beeswax candles. The conversation is a rhythmic exchange, a verbal dance that mirrors the physical one you just finished. The music was particularly stirring tonight, don't you think? A question asked with a soft, trailing lilt. You respond with a quiet nod, your voice a gentle echo in the vast, high-ceilinged room. Behind the safety of your mask, or the shadow of your fan, you find the courage to say things that the daylight might forbid. Notice the way the guests interact in these gaps of time. There is a slow, graceful choreography to the way people move into small circles and then dissolve back into the crowd. You see a mother leaning in to whisper a word of advice to her daughter, a gentleman sharing a secret laugh with an old friend from the university, and a pair of eyes meeting across the room in a silent, rhythmic acknowledgement of a shared secret. These are the threads that weave the social fabric of the Victorian night, a quiet, persistent pulse of connection that exists beneath the grand spectacle. Reach out and feel the textures of this quiet hour, the smoothness of the silk ribbon on your dance card, the cool, refreshing dampness of a glass of lemonade, and the soft, cushioned seat of a velvet settee. Your body, still warm from the exertion of the quadrille, slowly begins to settle. Your heartbeat slows, syncing with the steady, rhythmic ticking of the grand clock in the hallway. This is a necessary pause, a moment of rest that allows the magic of the evening to sink into your bones. As the first violin begins to sound a single, pure note, the signal for the next set, the quiet conversations begin to trail off. Guests stand, smoothing their gowns and adjusting their gloves, the rhythmic rustle of fabric filling the air once more. But the warmth of those quiet words stays with you. The secrets shared and the friendships strengthened in the silence between the dances are the true treasures of the ballroom. You take a slow, deep breath, ready to step back into the light and the music, carrying the peace of the pause within your heart. In the periphery of the brilliant golden light, seated upon the plush velvet settees that line the perimeter of the hall, sits a silent and formidable force, the chaperones. Their presence is a rhythmic anchor in the sea of swirling dancers, a constant, watchful guard that ensures the delicate balance of Victorian propriety remains undisturbed. As you move through the room, you can feel their gaze, sharp, experienced, and profoundly attentive, scanning the floor like the steady beam of a lighthouse over a restless ocean. Listen to the unique soundscape that surrounds the row of elders. It is a world of quiet, percussive noises, the sharp click of a lorgnette being raised to a keen eye, the rhythmic thrum of a wooden fan tapping against a palm in disapproval, and the low, hushed murmurs of seasoned matrons sharing observations that are as sharp as the pins in their lace caps. They speak a language of glances and nods, a secret code of social judgment that pulses through the room, independent of the orchestra's melody. The scent in this part of the ballroom is different, heavier, and more traditional. It is the aroma of dried lavender, old lace, and the faint, dusty scent of family histories. To the young dancers, the chaperones may seem like statues of the past, but they are the keepers of the future. Every interaction you have, every lingering look you exchange with a partner, is filtered through their watchful perception. Their presence creates a hidden, structural tension, a rhythmic awareness of boundaries that actually enhances the thrill of the night. Notice the way a gentleman instinctively straightens his waistcoat as he passes their line, or how a lady adjusts her fan to shield a private smile from their direction. This is the quiet choreography of respect. The chaperones are not just observers, they are the architects of the ballroom's dignity. They remember every waltz of their own youth, every secret whispered behind a mask decades ago, and their silence is a profound repository of the manor's secrets. Their eyes, reflecting the flickering candles, hold a depth of wisdom that reminds everyone that the night is both a dream and a social contract. There is a strange comfort in their vigilance. Their watchful eyes provide a sense of safety, a guarantee that the magic of the evening will not descend into chaos. You feel the rhythm of their presence as a steady, slow-moving tide that balances the frantic energy of the dance floor. As you curtsy to a group of elders, you feel the weight of their approving nod, a small, rhythmic gesture that grants you the freedom to continue your journey through the night. As the clock ticks toward the deep hours of the morning, the chaperones remain at their posts, their endurance a testament to their dedication to tradition. They are the silent witnesses to the beginning of romances and the cementing of alliances. When you finally turn away from their watchful line to rejoin the dance, you carry with you the knowledge that you are part of a long, unbroken chain of grace. The eyes of the chaperones are the stars that guide the ballroom's ship, and in their quiet, rhythmic observation, the true spirit of the Victorian era lives on. As the night matures into its final, most graceful act, the high-energy excitement of the earlier hours dissolves into something far more profound, a slow, hypnotic state known as the gentle rhythm of the dance floor. The orchestra has softened its tone, the brass instruments yielding to the tender, weeping notes of the violins and the deep, resonant heartbeat of the cello. The music no longer commands you to move, it invites you to drift, to become a single drop of water in a vast, golden river of silk and light. Listen to the acoustics of this late-hour harmony. The sounds of the ballroom have become muffled, wrapped in a blanket of velvet and warmth. You hear the rhythmic hiss, shh, hiss, shh, of trailing gowns, a sound that has slowed down to match the steady, calm breathing of the dancers. The floor itself, polished to a mirror-like sheen, seems to hum beneath your feet, vibrating with a low-frequency pulse that feels like the very soul of the manor. Step, slide, pause. There is no rush now, only the exquisite, meditative flow of bodies moving in perfect, silent understanding. The visual world has become a soft-focused dream. The candlelight has burned down, casting a deeper, amber glow that softens the edges of the pillars and the silhouettes of the guests. As you turn, the grand chandelier above looks like a cluster of dying stars, its crystals catching the light in slow, rhythmic flashes that move across your closed eyelids. You see the other couples not as individuals, but as shadows in a grand, rotating tapestry, a kaleidoscope of midnight blue, deep emerald, and shimmering ivory, all weaving together in a slow-motion dance of ghosts and memories. Reach out and feel the texture of this moment, the warmth of your partner's hand, now familiar and steady, the slight dampness of the air, heavy with the scent of wilted lilies and the sweet, lingering smoke of the beeswax candles. The physical exertion of the night has left you in a state of flow, where every muscle moves with a liquid ease. Your heavy skirts no longer feel like a burden, they have become an extension of your own body, a rhythmic weight that balances your every turn. You are floating on a cloud of tradition and melody. There is a profound, spiritual peace in this gentle rhythm. In the silence between the musical phrases, you can hear the house itself breathing, the old wood creaking, the wind sighing against the tall stained glass windows. For these few minutes, the social pressures of the ball have vanished. Behind your mask, your expression is one of pure, quiet contentment. You are not dancing to be seen, you are dancing to exist in a space where time has no power and where the only reality is the triple time beat of the waltz. As the orchestra brings the set to a lingering, whisper-soft conclusion, the dancers remain still for a heartbeat, unwilling to break the spell. The gentle rhythm has woven a web of tranquility over the entire hall, a sense of collective belonging that transcends words. You take a slow, deep breath, feeling the cool evening air settle in your lungs, and open your eyes to the fading gold of the room. The peak of the night may have passed, but the rhythm remains in your heart, a steady, elegant pulse that will carry you through the final hours and into the morning light. As the final notes of the midnight waltz fade into the rafters, the grand mahogany doors at the far end of the ballroom swing open, revealing the transition to the final indulgence of the night. The air is suddenly filled with a new, tantalizing symphony of scents, the savory aroma of roasted pheasant, the sweetness of glazed fruits, and the crisp, sharp effervescence of chilled champagne. This is the invitation to the light supper, a refined feast designed to restore the spirit before the journey home. Step across the threshold into the dining hall, where the atmosphere is a masterpiece of Victorian luxury. The long tables are draped in heavy, snow-white damask linens, so crisp they seem to glow under the light of the silver candelabras. At the center of the tables stand towering sculptures of spun sugar and ice, glistening like the crystals in the ballroom above. Listen to the rhythmic sounds of the feast, the musical clink-clink of silver forks against fine-bone china, the rhythmic pop of corks being drawn, and the gentle, bubbling pour of golden wine into crystal flutes. The sensory experience is one of delicate precision. Reach out and feel the weight of the solid silver spoon, cool and smooth in your hand. The menu is a collection of masterpieces, tiny, crustless sandwiches filled with cucumber and watercress, delicate oysters resting on beds of crushed ice, and petite pastries shaped like rosebuds, filled with rich, velvety cream. Every bite is a rhythmic explosion of flavor, a contrast between the savory and the sweet that mirrors the complex emotions of the night. As you find a seat among the other guests, the conversation takes on a different tone, relaxed, warm, and deeply satisfied. The guesses of the masquerade are finally confirmed as masks are placed gently on the table, revealing flushed faces and bright, tired eyes. Laugh, sip, sigh. There is a profound sense of camaraderie in this room. You are all survivors of a grand adventure, sharing a final meal in the waning hours of the dark. The scent of the lilies from the ballroom is now joined by the warm, comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee and dark chocolate. Observe the way the candlelight plays off the polished silver trays and the faceted glass decanters. The room feels smaller and more intimate than the vast ballroom, a cozy sanctuary against the encroaching morning. You feel the fatigue of the dances beginning to settle into your limbs, but it is a good tiredness, a physical memory of the joy you've experienced. The light supper is not just a meal, it is a bridge between the dream world of the ball and the reality of the dawn. As you finish your last sip of wine, the rhythmic ticking of the tall case clock in the corner reminds you that the night is nearly spent. The servants move with a silent, rhythmic grace, clearing plates and refilling glasses with a practiced invisibility. You take a slow, deep breath, savoring the final tastes of the manor's hospitality. The feast has reached its end, and the heart is full. You rise from the table, your gown rustling one last time, ready to face the cool air of the departure, carrying with you the warmth and the sweetness of the midnight supper. As the midnight supper continues, the focus shifts toward the most delicate and artistic portion of the feast, the exquisite service of tea, cakes, and pastries. This is a moment of refined indulgence, where the heavy, savory scents of the main course give way to the light, floral aroma of Darjeeling and the sugary perfume of the pastries. The dining hall feels warmer now, more intimate, as the guests lean in over small porcelain plates to admire the miniature masterpieces laid out before them. Listen to the rhythmic melody of the tea service. It is a symphony of fragile, high-pitched sounds. The clink-clink of a tiny silver tongue lifting a cube of white sugar, the rhythmic, hollow tink of a spoon stirring a teacup in a circular motion, and the soft, musical hush of hot tea being poured from a heavy silver pot into a translucent cup. Each sound is a signal of comfort and sophistication. You lift your cup, feeling the warmth of the porcelain through your silk gloves, and take a slow, deep breath. The steam rises in a thin, rhythmic curl, carrying the scent of bergamot and honey. On the tiered silver stands, the pastries are arranged like jewels in a velvet box. There are tiny eclairs, glazed with chocolate so dark and glossy it reflects the candlelight. There are millefeuilles, with their hundreds of paper-thin layers of pastry that shatter with a rhythmic crunch at the touch of a fork. And there are the sponges, light as air, infused with rosewater or lemon, and topped with a single, crystallized violet. Every bite is a calculated balance of textures, the crispness of the crust, the velvet smoothness of the cream, and the sudden, sweet spark of the sugar. Observe the colors of this sweet finale, the pale pinks of the macaroons, the deep ambers of the fruit tarts, and the snowy whites of the meringues. They mirror the colors of the ballroom gowns, a final visual echo of the night's elegance. You watch as a guest nearby carefully dissects a tiny petit four, their movements slow and rhythmic, savoring the artistry of the chef. There is no rush here. The tea and cakes represent a pause in time, a moment to linger over the sweetness of life before the carriage is called. The conversation around you has become soft and honeyed, much like the treats on the table. Guests are reminiscing about the best dances of the night, their voices drifting like the crumbs of the light sponges. Sip, whisper, taste. You find yourself feeling a deep, meditative sense of satisfaction. The sugar provides a gentle hum of energy to your tired limbs, while the warmth of the tea grounds your spirit. This is the quiet heart of the Victorian hospitality, a gesture of care and beauty that transcends the grand spectacle of the dance floor. As you reach for a final, almond-scented biscuit, you notice the candles in the candelabras have burned down to their last inch, their flames steady and low. The tea service is drawing to a close, and the rhythmic clatter of china being gathered by the footmen begins to signal the end of the feast. You take one last, lingering sip of your tea, letting the warmth spread through your chest. The sweetness of the pastries remains on your palate, a delicious memory of a night that was perfect in every detail. You rise from the table, feeling restored and peaceful, ready for the final farewells of the grand manor. Listen to the atmosphere of these resting places. It is a world of soft, hushed acoustics. You hear the rhythmic, heavy sigh of a gentleman as he leans back against a brocade pillow, finally allowing his shoulders to drop, the soft, rhythmic flutter of a fan used not for signaling, but for a genuine, cooling breeze, and the distant, muffled echo of the orchestra in the hall, sounding like a dream heard through a thick wall of fog. Thrum, thrum, thrum. The music is no longer a command, it is a gentle, persistent heartbeat that reminds you the night isn't over, even as you sit in the shadows. The sensory details here are focused on comfort and relief. Reach out and feel the texture of the cool, polished marble of a side table, or the deep, welcoming pile of a Persian rug beneath your tired feet. Guests have removed their gloves for a moment, letting the cool air touch their skin, and the scent in these rooms is a mixture of fading perfume and the comforting, woody smell of the library's leather-bound books. There is a profound sense of unwinding here, a rhythmic release of the tension that comes from hours of perfect posture and social performance. Observe the vignettes of human connection in the resting areas. You see two young ladies, their heads bowed together, sharing a secret laugh over a shared dance card, their voices a rhythmic, conspiratorial whisper. Nearby, an elderly couple sits in comfortable silence, their hands nearly touching, watching the younger generation with a calm, rhythmic appreciation. These are the moments where the mask truly slips, not just the silk one from the masquerade, but the social mask of the Victorian elite. In the rest between dances, people are simply themselves, tired, happy, and deeply connected by the shared experience of the night. Your own body feels a strange, rhythmic heaviness, a sweet fatigue that makes every muscle hum with the memory of the waltz. You watch the dust motes dancing in the beam of a single, flickering candle, their movements mirroring the frantic steps of the quadrille in a slow, meditative version. The transition from the light of the ballroom to the shadows of the resting room has allowed your mind to process the splendor of the evening. Every glance, every turn, and every word spoken now settles into your memory like silt at the bottom of a clear lake. As a footman passes by with a tray of water and cooling linens, the rhythmic clink of the glasses signals that the rest is nearly over. You feel a slow, steady surge of renewed energy, a second wind that begins in your heart and travels to your feet. The orchestra's volume begins to rise, the melody growing more insistent, calling the shadows back into the light. You stand, smoothing the creases in your gown and readjusting your mask. The rest has served its purpose. You are ready now for the final dance, your spirit refreshed and your heart eager to catch the last, fleeting moments of the night's magic. As the clock creeps toward the early hours of the morning, the atmosphere in the ballroom undergoes its final, most poignant transformation. The high-energy quadrilles and the frantic polkas have ceased, replaced by the announcement of the final waltz. This is the traditional cotillion or bonbon dance, designed to weave all the lingering threads of the night into one final, beautiful knot. The conductor raises his baton for the last time, and the orchestra begins a melody that is both soaring and bittersweet, a tempo that is slightly slower, more deliberate, and deeply resonant. Listen to the sound of the ballroom as it enters this final rhythm. The floor is no longer crowded, only the most dedicated revelers remain. You hear the rhythmic hiss, shh, of silk against the oak floor, but it is a softer sound now, more tired and more intimate. The music seems to wrap around the dancers like a warm velvet cloak. There is a sense of clinging to the moment, a collective desire to slow down the hands of the clock. Every turn in the waltz feels heavier, more significant, as if the dancers are trying to memorize the sensation of the wood beneath their feet and the weight of their partner's hand before the dream dissolves. The visual landscape is one of fading glory. The great chandelier, once a sun of 1,000 candles, now flickers with a softer, amber light as the wax nears its end. The long shadows of the pillars stretch across the floor, dancing alongside the guests. You see the debris of a night well spent, a fallen rose petal, a stray silk ribbon, and the discarded dance cards that tell the story of the evening's journey. As the waltz reaches its crescendo, the music swells with a final, heartbreaking beauty, filling the vast space one last time, before tapering off into a single, lingering note from the lead violin.
Eee!
N. Silence follows, but it is a silence filled with the rhythmic breathing of a room that has given everything to the night. With the music ended, the ritual of the farewell begins. This is not a hurried exit, but a slow, ceremonial winding down of the social clock. Guests move toward the grand staircase and the entrance hall, their movements reflecting a sweet fatigue. The air here is cooler, smelling of the damp morning fog that has begun to seep in through the heavy oak doors. In the soft, flickering candlelight of the foyer, the final conversations of the night take place. These are the farewells in the candlelight, characterized by a unique blend of exhaustion and exhilaration. Listen to the acoustics of the departure. You hear the rhythmic clatter of carriage wheels on the cobblestones outside, growing louder as each vehicle is called forward by the linkmen. Inside, there is the soft rustle of heavy wool cloaks and fur-lined pelisses being draped over tired shoulders. The voices are lower now, hushed by the late hour. A night to remember, someone whispers, a rhythmic, recurring sentiment that echoes through the hall. The exchange of addresses, the promises of future calls, and the final, graceful bows and curtsies are performed with a quiet, practiced elegance. The sensory experience of the farewell is a transition from the artificial gold of the ballroom to the natural gray of the approaching dawn. You feel the sharp contrast of the cold night air against your skin as you step toward the threshold. The scent of the house, beeswax, lilies, and history fades, replaced by the earthy, metallic smell of the London mist. As you look back one last time, you see the manor glowing from within, a lighthouse of luxury in the dark. The servants stand in silent, rhythmic rows, their presence a final tribute to the order and tradition of the house. The departure is the final act of the play. As you step into your carriage and the door closes with a solid, rhythmic thud, the world of the ball begins to recede. The swaying motion of the carriage replaces the rhythm of the waltz, and the clip-clop of the horse's hooves becomes the new heartbeat of your journey. The night is over, but as you lean back against the leather cushions, the magic of the candlelight and the echo of the violins remain tucked away in your heart, a secret treasure to be revisited in the quiet moments of the days to come. As you step through the massive oak doors of the manor, the atmospheric shift is immediate and visceral. The humid, perfume-laden air of the ballroom is replaced by the sharp, bracing chill of the pre-dawn London mist. The scene outside is one of organized chaos, a rhythmic assembly of wealth and machinery. The long gravel driveway is lined with a dark, shimmering procession of broughams, landaus, and hansoms, their black lacquered frames gleaming under the flickering orange glow of the street-side gas lamps, and the handheld torches of the link men. Listen to the soundscape of the driveway. It is a mechanical symphony that contrasts sharply with the violins inside. You hear the rhythmic stamp and snort of heavy horses, their breath blooming in the cold air like white plumes of smoke. There is the constant, metallic jingle of harness chains, and the hollow clack-clack of hooves shifting on the wet gravel. Linkmen and footmen move with practiced urgency, their voices low and sharp as they call out the names of the families. The Earl of Pembroke's carriage, or Lady Danbury's brougham. The sensory experience here is one of the threshold. You are caught between two worlds. Behind you, the muffled music of the final waltz still vibrates through the stone walls. Before you, the vast, dark silence of the sleeping countryside. The smell of the night is dominated by damp earth, horsehair, and the sulphurous tang of the coal-fed torches. As you wait for your carriage to be brought forward, you pull your heavy velvet cloak tighter, feeling the lingering warmth of the ballroom slowly evaporate. It is a moment of profound transition, where the magic of the night meets the cold reality of the morning. The moment the carriage door closes with a solid, muffled thud, the world changes again. Suddenly, the shouting link men and the flickering torches are shut out, replaced by the intimate, dim interior of the coach. The ride home is a period of deep, meditative silence, a rhythmic decompression after hours of sensory overload. The plush, button-tufted leather or silk upholstery of the seats provides a welcoming embrace to your exhausted frame. As the coachman signals the horses and the carriage begins to move, you feel the first rhythmic sway of the suspension, a motion that mimics the waltz but with a grounded, earthy cadence. The soundscape of the ride home is hypnotic and repetitive. There is the steady clip-clop of the horses' hooves hitting the road, a metronome for your thoughts. You hear the rhythmic creak of the wooden carriage frame, and the occasional splash as the wheels roll through a puddle of rainwater. Inside the coach, it is quiet enough to hear your own breathing, and the soft rustle of your silk gown as it settles into the shadows. The conversation, if there is any at all, is whispered and fragmented. Guests often lean their heads against the cool glass of the window, watching the dark silhouettes of trees or city buildings slip past like ghosts. The visual experience is one of fading light. The interior of the carriage is lit only by the occasional passing street lamp, which casts a rhythmic, sweeping glow across the cabin every few seconds, light, shadow, light, shadow. In these brief flashes, you might see the glint of a diamond necklace, or the tired, content smile of a companion. The scent within the carriage is a lingering ghost of the ball, a faint trace of jasmine, the smell of damp wool, and the metallic edge of the cooling night air. As the carriage moves further away from the manor, the mental echo of the music begins to fade. The physical fatigue of the night, the ache in your feet, the heaviness of your eyelids, is balanced by a profound sense of psychological satisfaction. The ride home serves as a bridge, a slow-moving sanctuary that carries you from the dream of the Victorian ball, back to the doorstep of your everyday life. By the time the carriage finally pulls up to your home, the sun is beginning to touch the horizon with a pale, rhythmic gray, and the memory of the ball has been safely tucked away, ready to be relived in the quiet chambers of your mind. The grand manor, which only hours ago was a cathedral of light and sound, now stands as a silent sentinel in the gray morning mist. Inside, the great ballroom is empty. The massive crystal chandelier has been extinguished, its prisms no longer dancing with fire, but hanging still and cold like frozen raindrops. The rhythmic tick-tock of the tall mahogany clock in the foyer is now the only sound remaining, echoing through the hollow halls where the violins once soared. As you return to the sanctuary of your own room, the ritual of the night draws to its true close. There is a rhythmic, methodical peace in the process of undressing. The heavy silk gown is unlaced, the corset is loosened, and the silk mask is placed gently upon the vanity. These are the physical layers of the dream being shed, one by one. You feel the cool morning air on your skin, a stark contrast to the velvet warmth of the ballroom. The scent of the evening, a fading ghost of lavender and beeswax, clings to your hair, a final sensory link to the magic that has passed. Outside the window, the world is waking up. The first birds begin their rhythmic chirping in the garden, and the sky turns a pale, translucent violet. You climb into bed, the linen sheets feeling crisp and cool against your tired limbs. As you close your eyes, the echo of the waltz still plays in the back of your mind, a phantom rhythm that lulls you towards sleep. The ball was a masterpiece of social art, a fleeting moment of perfection in a world that is often chaotic. It was a night where every bow, every glance, and every note served a purpose, to create a memory that time cannot erode. The moral of the story: as the sun rises on a new day, we are left with a timeless truth from this journey through the Victorian era. The elegance of the ball was not just in the gold or the silk, but in the effort made to treat others and the moment with profound respect. True elegance is not found in the clothes we wear or the titles we hold, but in the grace with which we treat others, and the mindfulness we bring to the fleeting beauty of the present moment.